Big political clash after National Guard shooting. President Trump has argued for much tougher limits on immigration from certain countries, while Representative Ilhan Omar calls proposals like blanket bans discriminatory. What does the data actually say? Let's break it down. What we'll cover. Quick roadmap. 1. How many immigrants have come to the U.S. since 2000? 2. What happened in 2021? 3. Which countries send the most immigrants? 4. How big is unauthorized migration each year? 5. What the data means for policy debates. 1. Long-term picture. Immigrants in the U.S., 2000 to 2025. Over the past 2 decades, the U.S. foreign-born population rose sharply. In 2000, roughly 31 million foreign-born people lived in the U.S. By 2023, that number had grown to about 47.8 million, a record high. That growth reflects both legal immigration and increases in temporary and unauthorized populations. Broad annual flows of new lawful permanent residents have varied. Pandemic years saw declines, but by FY 2022, FY 2023 green card grants rebounded to over 1 million per year, roughly 1.17 million in FY 2023. FY 2021 was lower than the post-pandemic rebound but higher than the pandemic. 2. The 2021 snapshot. What happened in that year? 2021 was a transition year. On the border, U.S. Border Patrol and CBP recorded roughly 1.7 million total enforcement encounters in year 2021, a surge compared with recent years and the highest level in decades. These encounters include apprehensions and other enforcement actions at ports of entry and between ports of entry. U.S. Customs and Border. On legal admissions, year 2021 delivered hundreds of thousands of new lawful permanent residents. The pandemic depressed some processing in 2020, then FY 2021 and FY 2022 showed recovery toward pre-pandemic levels. 3. Where do most immigrants come from? Top origin countries. Historically and today, the largest source of U.S. immigrants is Mexico, but the composition has changed. Other leading countries include India, China, the Philippines, and multiple Central American nations, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador. Over recent years, migration from South America and parts of Asia has also grown. 4. How many immigrants enter illegally per year? Illegal entry is tracked in different ways. The commonly cited measure is CBP encounters, people stopped or processed at the border or ports of entry. In year 2021, there were about 1.7 million encounters. Encounters rose further in FY 2022, over 2 million, before changing again with later policy shifts. These encounter counts are not the same as the number of people who remain illegally in the U.S. They measure enforcement activity. For estimates of the unauthorized resident population, researchers use surveys. A recent Pew Research analysis estimated the unauthorized resident population reached roughly 14 million in 2023, a record high, reflecting both new arrivals and changes in legal statuses and temporary protections. U.S. Customs and Border Protection. 5. Framing the policy fight. Trump versus Ilhan Omar. Now to the politics. Proposals that call for blanket bans on immigrants from third world or developing countries are usually framed as national security or labor market measures. Critics, including Representative Ilhan Omar and many civil rights groups, argue that country-based bans are discriminatory, blunt, and ignore legal obligations under refugee and asylum law. Both sides point to the same data: rising border encounters, regional shifts in origin countries, and large lawful admission flows, but they draw different policy conclusions. Good policymaking needs accurate numbers, clear legal standards, and attention to human rights and economic impacts. 6. Takeaway and responsible next steps. So what should viewers know? The U.S. admits hundreds of thousands to over 1 million lawful immigrants each year, varies by year. Border encounters, enforcement counts, spiked around 2021 at roughly 1.7 million that year, but that measures enforcement activity, not permanent stays. U.S. Customs and Border Protection. The largest foreign-born populations come from Mexico, India, China, the Philippines, and several Central and South American countries. MigrationPolicy.org. If you want more detail, like a downloadable chart of yearly lawful permanent resident admissions, 2000 to 2023, or a breakdown by country of origin, tell me and I'll prepare an annotated data slide you can use in your video. If you found this helpful, hit like and subscribe. Drop a comment. Do you want to follow up with the year-by-year numbers, or a deep dive into asylum and refugee policy?